So, how are you guys doing? I hope you are well this evening. Welcome to Blood Moon Oracle in the capacity of spiritual hygiene, right? Um, I think it's important just to understand that it's more than just operating, in gifts, in our spiritual capacity. It's also understanding our responsibility behind that. So many times we get it twisted, right? We misunderstand the purpose many times behind why we've been given what we've been given. And I really do feel as we are coming to an end of this book, Spiritual Hygiene, I feel like this is really just a call. It's like a clarion call, an announcement to the universe overall, right? So take it if it resonates. If it does not, if spirit is not speaking to you through this, then that's fine. That's cool. If spirit is like humble your heart and open up, you could only benefit from it, right? You can only advance from it. This information, it's all good information that has the ability to make us better, whatever capacity we're operating in when it comes to spiritual terms, right? It can only make us better. And so this is really good stuff. So, anywho, we're coming tonight because we are going to go ahead and read our next chapter. We're not going to wait till tomorrow. We're going to do it tonight. Last night, we talked about spiritual hygiene as it relates to the workplace. And this was a very good chapter as well. And it just really elaborates on the fact that this thing penetrates every area of life. There is no area that spiritual hygiene is not needed, right? It penetrates every area of our lives, just like abundance. When we talk about abundance, we're talking about this energy of fruitfulness that is not relegated to any one thing. So many times we think of abundance as financial, right? But abundance is so much more than that. It's spiritual, it's energetic, it's emotional, it's physical, right? Um, and so that's the same with spiritual hygiene. Like it touches every area of our life, our family, our area of parenting, our jobs, our relationships, our personal existence within ourselves, and definitely with our source, our higher power, whatever that is. Like there is no place left unturned when it comes to spiritual hygiene. As we've gone through this book, like it infiltrates every area of existence. And that's why it has been so appropriate to talk about. It's been helpful for me, very enlightening for me, very humbling for me in certain areas where I know I need work, right? Not to forget financial, right? That's another part. But it is definitely been a beautiful, beautiful experience. We are coming to the end of the book. And so, but that doesn't mean that we are coming to the end of practice. It may just be the beginning of what we get to integrate into our lives and kind of think about as we move forward. Like, how are we integrating our spiritual practice and our spiritual responsibilities into our everyday life, into our relationships, into our responsibilities, um, you know, into our privileges, right? And so it's something that we can definitely take with us. I feel like this is a book that would be a great addition to your library if you're building one. And it may serve a purpose as you move forward. Just because we're coming to the end doesn't mean that the spiritual hygiene practice is ending. It may very well just be beginning for many of us. But last week we talked about spiritual hygiene in the workplace. And this week we are talking about our final word as we bring this to an end. The final word, okay? And I believe this is the last chapter, y'all. It's the last chapter. I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry. This is the last chapter, y'all. And so it has been such a joy. I'm so thankful And we are on page 336 for those of you that have your books, that talks about living the way of spiritual hygiene, where we're just talking about living it, right? We've read about it. We have examined our own lives in each of these areas that she's pointed out. Now we have the opportunity to live it, to live the way of spiritual hygiene. And this is a benediction, a commission, a sacred return. Okay. Very much meant for us to take action. Okay. Not just inspiration, but it is a compelling to take action. Okay. So I just want to say thank you for all of you that have come each and every time I put a video up and you listened. And I know some of these subjects are difficult. They have been, some of them have been difficult for me to digest, because sometimes it points out areas where we definitely need to work on, areas that we kind of keep in the dark, we tuck them away. But the truth of the matter is, like, we can only get better by exposing these things, by being honest about them with ourselves. I don't mean that you have to go and tell the world what you need to work on, but this is really you versus you, right? Unless you want to have someone come in and share that with them, unless you feel the calling to be vulnerable with someone, right? This is between you and you. And so I just wanted to say thank you for being a part of this journey of spiritual hygiene. I hope you have received something out of this. You know, in all of our getting, you know, we have to get an understanding, and then also understand the responsibility of it, especially as it pertains to spiritual things, because there's such a great weight that comes with spirituality. Sometimes we don't realize the weight of that. Yeah, sometimes we don't realize it. And many times through this book, Spirit has given me certain biblical examples, and I just go with it, you know, because, you know, I do have all kinds of different experiences. Biblical is one of them. What is coming to mind right now is the book of Daniel, okay? Before we start our meditation prayer. And in the book of Daniel, there was a particular example that was given. And this comes up in my mind often. This is one of those stories, you know how you always have those stories or those situations or those examples that often ruminate in the back of your mind, and they're things that keep you on a straight and narrow, right? It reminds you to put your best foot forward. It reminds you to be responsible. It reminds you to treat people right. It reminds you, don't do that no more if you've already learned the lesson. It like keeps you integrous, right? And this story in the book of Daniel was about, I want to say it was about King Nebuchadnezzar when he was in rule. And he entered into sacred practice, and he took for granted the tools that were sacred. And I believe he pulled out some sacred cups, I believe was what the story was. And he used those sacred cups profanely, right? And there's a hand that started to write on the wall as he was using these cups in the form of, I guess they were having some kind of party, but it was sacred things, right? It was spiritual things. And my ear is starting to ring. My ear is starting to ring right now. And the hand started to write on the wall, right in the middle of the party. Right in the middle of the party, the hand of judgment began to write on the wall. And it was in the, I want to get it right. It was in a different language. It may have been the language that was very prominent for that culture in that time. And the writing said, many, many tickle you farsi. right? Many tekel upharsi, that God had numbered his days for allowing this to happen underneath his rule, within his realm of responsibility. And that God had numbered his days, weighed and divided a kingdom. It was Daniel 5. What that was signifying the end of his rule, that he had been judged for his pride. And it also foretold the immediate fall of Babylon to the Medes and the Persians. I don't know why that's coming up. That's one of the stories that always stick out to me. And truth be told, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. And the reason why I brought that up is, talking about our responsibility around spiritual things and understanding. And all our getting, we have to get an understanding. And sometimes we don't understand what we're playing with. And that does not excuse us from the responsibility of it. That's an example that Spirit just gave me, so I shared it. And even with people, like sometimes we don't understand what people's rank is in the Spirit. We don't know who that person is in the Spirit, and we think that we can say and do and play with people. You don't even know who you playing with. That's why I'm a firm believer in a respecter of persons. I don't care what you have. I don't care how much money you have, what your title is, what your position is. Like, you don't know who you're dealing with. You could be entertaining angels unaware. Many stories of that as well, right? But I feel like Spirit gave me this to share for those that would listen. And it may not be a lot of people, but those that have an ear, that they would listen. I feel like that is really the reason why I was brought into spirituality. If I'm gonna just be real, I don't understand it in the fullness myself. I just allow myself to be open and curious when, the Creator speaks. Some call it God, some call it the universe, some will give it a gender, right? This creative force that keeps everything in order. I was just at the park. I go to the park often, and I was before a body of water. And underneath this water is a whole family, a whole generation rather, of turtles, and big and small, old, young. And I'm like, and I stand and I look at this water, and I'm just so in awe of the water. And I'm curious because I'm like, I wonder what it feels like to live underwater. I wonder what it feels like to be a turtle and to exist with this generation underneath this body of water. There's all kind of like plants growing and moss that covers. I mean, there's just this whole life that is existing underneath the surface of this water that we don't see. And I'm curious. I'm like, I want to know, I wonder what that feels like, right? To live underwater. And I'm just in awe of how our Creator keeps everything in order, right? We absolutely have a power, however you see that, that is keeping everything in order, in divine order, that's keeping everything flowing, that, separates the land from the sea, that separates the air from the land and from the water, right? Everything is consistently maintaining this divine order. Even when we do have natural disasters, there are limitations to those natural disasters. And there's a point where the Creator is like, okay, hush. Okay, that's enough, right? Yeah, we do need to cleanse the land, but okay, that's enough. It's clean. Let's move on, right? There's this divine order that keeps everything at bay, everything in order. So I have no doubt that there is absolutely a divine Creator. There's a divine presence that is within all of us, that is all around, that's in everything, right? It's in everything. And it is limitless. We have limits. We've been taught to limit ourselves, to limit our thinking, to limit how far we allow ourselves to go and to imagine. But the creator is not limited. So that means there's a part of us, since we are a part of the creator, that is also limitless when we allow ourselves to connect to that source, to that energy. So the creator can speak, right? Through anything, through anyone, in any way that is desired. So I feel like I'm here in this capacity for this exact reason, because someone needed to hear that there is a responsibility behind this thing that we call spirituality. We can't just do what we want to do, when we want to do it, how we want to do it, and disregard, the integrity of it, right? Everything has an order, right? And I think it really goes back to the respect that we have for the creator and for our ancestors, those that have come before us, that have paved a way to give us privileges that they didn't have, to give us opportunities that they didn't have. There's so many different ways that we can look at this, right? This connection that we have, right? That we call this collective energy, this collective knowing. I mean, it's just beyond anything that I ever imagined I would be experiencing at this point in my life. And so it's bigger than me. I realize that it's bigger than us. And nothing happens by chance. Nothing happens, just out of randomness. Like, I feel like everything is purposeful. I do. And I take it seriously. And so this has been truly, truly, truly appointed in my eyes. And I said, yes, show me the way. Okay. And I know a lot of people get it twisted because we have been programmed to think a certain way. We've been programmed to think against certain things because of how we've been taught. Because we don't know anything different. We haven't allowed ourselves to know anything different. But like I said, the creator is not limited how we are. And just because you aren't aware of a thing, that does not make it bad or good. It just makes you unaware. Right? And so I think it's good to be curious, even if you allow yourself to be open and curious and you decide, yeah, I get it, but that's not for me. Eat your heart out. That's cool. But allow yourself to be curious. Don't just turn a deaf ear, right? And so I think for spirituality, spirit is definitely speaking. That's the sum of what I'm saying in this preface of the reading that we're going to do today. Living the way of spiritual hygiene. I'm just basically letting it be known that there is a responsibility to this. And we'll be really, responsible for everything that we put out. Okay. We will. And so I hope you guys are well and are getting some good stuff out of this, because I am. And so let's go ahead and get started. I didn't even mean to go deep like that, but it is what it is. Beloved presence in all that is. All that is above, all that is below, all that is within, all that is without, in all that is. Anchor me now in your presence and perfect wisdom. Today, we call forth the sacred flame of courage, not the absence of fear, but the holy willingness to move forward anyway. Let courage rise in me, in us, like the morning sun. warming every place within us that feels uncertain or afraid. Divine light of truth, I ask that you clear my mind, wash away the fog of confusion, the heaviness of doubt, and the noise of every voice that does not belong to us. Make our thoughts clear, focused, and honorable. Help us to see with spiritual eyes so that we will choose with sacred discernment. Guide us to speak only what is rooted in integrity and love. We open our hands and our hearts now, ready to receive divine instruction, so that we will walk in alignment towards our greater good. Guide us, strengthen us, clarify everything we hold in our minds. May every step we take right now be a step toward truth and peace and our own divinity. We ask, we allow, we accept, and so it is. Amen. Ashe, Ao. Living the way of spiritual hygiene, a benediction, a commission, a sacred return. Whether we have walked through the sacred halls of remembrance, we have knelt before the altar of the mind, heart, body, and soul. We have looked into the mirror of self-honesty. We have stood in the reckoning of energetic responsibility. We have practiced release, reclamation, forgiveness, and embodiment. We have awakened your throne of authority and touched the hem of your own divine nature. This is no small thing. Spiritual hygiene is not just a practice, it is a path. It is a promise. It is a way of living that calls us into sacred alignment every day. The intention is not just to become perfect. The intention is to become aware, okay, whole, and present. The intention is not to be holy in appearance. It's not about form or fashion. It is to be whole in truth. The question is no longer, what is spiritual hygiene? The question becomes, how will I live what I now know? Okay. In our conclusion to this whole book that we just read, chapter by chapter, line by line, and then some, the conclusion is living clean, and so it shall be. She says, beloved, if you have traveled with me through these chapters, you've already begun the practice of spiritual hygiene. You have walked with me through the landscapes of my own life, the tender wounds of childhood neglect and abuse, the harrowing valleys of domestic violence and loss, the sacred thresholds of surrender and self-discovery. You have heard my truth, not as a performance of strength, but as an offering of remembrance. That no matter how deep the stain of trauma, no matter how heavy the residue of grief, the soul is always capable of being cleansed, renewed, and restored. Just this past month alone, I was reminded that I do not have to be loyal to those who do not treat me well. I was reminded that I can weather even the most serious of emotional crises, even when they affect those closest to me. I was reminded that I know how to grieve. It was a deepening of my understanding that spiritual hygiene is not merely a concept or a set of practices. It is a way of life. It is a steady devotion to living in alignment with truth, to cleansing the mind of clutter and false beliefs, to keeping the heart open yet protected, to honoring the body as a living altar, and to remembering the soul as eternal, luminous, and whole. It is the return again and again to the seat of inner authority where God speaks in stillness and where clarity replaces confusion. At the risk of being repetitive, I offer you this final energetic transmission as a gift to your soul. These words are not meant to summarize the content of these pages. They are meant to implant and infuse sacred energy onto the altars of your mind and heart. When we began this journey, we started with self-awareness, the courage to see what has been hidden, denied, or distorted. Awareness is the light that reveals the cobwebs of the mind, the inherited beliefs we have mistaken for truth, the patterns of survival we once needed, but that now keep us small. From there, we entered the temple of self-honesty, where truth confronts illusion. It is in honesty that we peel back the masks, the strong one, the invisible one, the habitual one, the performer, the fixer, and dare to stand unclothed before God and ourselves. We travel further into the territory of the heart, learning that unprocessed grief, anger, and betrayal, if left unattended, becomes toxic residue. Yet, when honored as sacred teachers, they can be transformed into compassion, forgiveness, and resilience. I shared with you the moments of my own life when grief almost silenced me, the loss of my beloved baby girl, the unraveling of relationships I thought were forever. And yet, by choosing to cleanse rather than conceal my sorrow, I found my heart purified and widened to hold even more love. From the heart, we moved into the body, remembering that our flesh, bones, and breath are not burdens to be carried, but holy vessels to be honored. The body tells the truth. It reveals misalignment long before the mind admits it. To tend to rest, movement, nourishment, and sacred rhythms is to keep the altar of the body clean so that it may host the spirit in wholeness and vitality. We also faced the sobering reality of energetic responsibility that what we think, speak, give, and withhold all have consequences. Energy is never neutral. To gossip, to lie, to misuse resources, to deny rest. These are not minor lapses. They are breaches that weaken our field. And yet each breach can be healed. Each distortion can be cleansed. Each misstep can be redeemed when brought into the light of consciousness and corrected with love. Let me get a sip of my tea. The final movement of our journey carried us into authority, sovereignty, and reclamation. We learned that to live with spiritual hygiene is to sit upon the throne of the self, not as a tyrant, not as a victim, but as a sovereign steward of divine presence. It is to say no when the soul says no, and yes when the yes is clean. It is to sanctify relationships, parenting, work, money, and community, not by perfection, but by presence, discernment, and devotion. My life, beloved, has been both the curriculum and the testimony of these teachings. I offer you not what I know, but what I have lived and died through in order to get and live clean. I am not whole because I escaped pain, but because I chose to cleanse the residue that pain left behind. I am not aligned because I have never stumbled, but because I am now aware that each fall invited me to return to truth. I am not luminous because life spared me from darkness, but because I learned that light is not the absence of the shadow, it is the willingness to shine through the presence of what feels dark. And so I leave you here, not with marching orders, but with an invitation. Let spiritual hygiene be more than words on a page. Let it become your breath, your posture, your prayer, and your way of being. Clean living is not about denying the dirt. It is about knowing where to go when life soils you. Clean living is not about being untouched. It is about being willing to be washed from the inside out. Clean living is not about never breaking. It is about allowing every break to be mended by Spirit's hands. Beloved, remember this. You are the sanctuary. You are the altar. You are the vessel of divine light. Keep yourself clean, not for fear of judgment, but for love of your own soul. And know this, when the dust settles, when the day ends, when the grief comes, when the joy rises, you must and you can return again and again and again to the sacred practice of cleansing. In your practice, you must not only find yourself renewed, you will become a living blessing, a radiant presence of wholeness, and a testimony that God actually can make all things new. Yay, that was beautiful. And that's it, y'all. Listen, if you have not got the book, go get it from Barnes and Nobles, or you can order it online. I'm sure they have it online as well. $25, $30. It's not a lot. And it is absolutely worth every dollar. Every dollar. I feel like no matter what you practice, you could be spiritual, you could be religious. You don't have to practice anything. You could be atheist, right? But this is about finding a way to live, right? In your power, in your truth. None of us are an island, though we would like to be. That's too bad, because I would like to be an island. But none of us are islands. We have to intermingle, we have to go to work. We have to help family. We have to embrace love, right? And so this is good. This is good. It gives us, a way to do that and to be empowered while we do that, to live in our truth, to understand actually who we are and who we are not, what we have been called to deal with and what we have not been called to deal with, and to be okay with that, to live clean with those things. And so that's what this is about. And that's the end of the book. If you guys have any questions, all of these videos for every chapter that we read is in my playlist for spiritual hygiene. You'll find all of those chapters that we've read. All of that information will stay readily available as long as YouTube allows it. And so you can always go back and rewatch. Okay. This is the end of this road with the reading of spiritual hygiene. I hope it has been as helpful to you as it has for me. And so with that, I will say good night. And I hope you guys have a beautiful, beautiful Sunday, a start to your week. I always feel like everything, the way we start a thing is really crucial to how it will end. And so whatever you need to prepare to be successful this week, do it. Don't procrastinate. Do it. Okay. And so my name is Letty. Again, it has been a pleasure. Like, share, comment, subscribe if this is your first time passing through. I appreciate each and every one of you that have commented or liked the video, shared the video. have taken in this information and utilized it in your own lives, or considered it at least. I appreciate you. I may not know who you are, but Spirit knows who you are, and Spirit will move accordingly in your life. Okay. All right. That's it. And that's all. This is the ending to spiritual hygiene as we open up to what's next. It's been a pleasure.